This video is kind of a year late in a way, but I got a couple of people requesting I did it, so, now is the time for it, I guess. So, a year ago, I posted a favoritism of Dela video regarding both the favoritism that she received on Season 6 and the strong hand that she was dealt on All Stars 3. As it was very obvious that she was favored on Season 6, at least to me, that will be the main wrong that we'll be correcting, let's say. Okay, not a wrong, but you know what I mean. We'll go over Season 6 had Dela not been saved in that first lip sync against Darian in the first top 8 episode. After this, we know that we need to have a returning queen, most certainly Dela or maybe another double Shantae. You gotta stick around to see what I think would have happened. I will also look at how the season could have possibly gone had Dela been saved in the top 8 episode, but then was put into the bottom 2 with Laganja in the stand-up comedy challenge. But let's begin with the first scenario. So, it begins, as I've already mentioned, with the first top 8 episode. Let's go over the placements in this episode. So, firstly, Adore and Laganja win the Maxi Challenge, with Laganja also winning the Mini Challenge. Next, Bianca and Trinity are high, with Courtney and Jocelyn as low. Dela gets eliminated after her lip sync against Darian. Next, we continue with the stand-up comedy challenge. And so, in this episode, Jocelyn won the Mini Challenge, and as like a reward for this little win, Jocelyn got to create the order in which the queens would perform. As this did not really fully matter in the long run, we'll just assume that it would be exactly the same. So, Bianca wins this, of course, whereas Trinity and Darian are high. Courtney is safe, just like originally. Next, Adore is low, with Jocelyn beating Laganja in the bottom 2 lip sync. Now this is where we make the decision. Do we continue with a double Shantae happening, or do we continue knowing that we'll have to bring back Dela for the makeover episode? Instead of me having to make that choice and you yelling at me, we'll do both scenarios. I mean, you'll yell at me, but regardless of the choice, but yeah. Firstly, the scenario where we get a double Shantae. So for the talk show episode, first, the mini challenge had the queens guess words that were spelled out over the pit crew's underwear. And basically, who got the most right won. Dela originally had the most right guesses, so she won. In the game, Adore, Bianca, and Courtney had one correct guess each. Now, since one of the questions was about Lady Bunny and Bianca did jokingly answer it, maybe she wouldn't really get a chance to answer again there, with, I don't know, Courtney possibly being able to steal the point and take the win in the mini challenge. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but I just wanted to mention it as the original winner is not present anymore. The rest of the placements are the same. Courtney wins the Maxi Challenge, with Bianca being high. Darian is safe, while Jocelyn is low. Adore and Trinity lip-sync to Vibology, and we get a double Shantae. Now, yes, Adore did win this lip-sync originally, but for the drama of it all, plus the fact that Paul Abdul was there, I think that Trinity should be declared as safe first, and then Adore right after her. And this leads us into the makeover episode, where we have these 6 queens again. Bianca won this episode's mini challenge originally, so we aren't changing that. Bianca also paired up the wives with the queens, thinking that they'd be making them over. However, it was revealed that the queens would be making over the soon-to-be husbands. This means that we cannot really look into how the placements would have gone had the pairings been different. So, again, this is irrelevant. With Trinity now being here, we have to take her into consideration. I mean, yeah, that's obvious. Trinity had some of the best runway looks of Season 6, and she proved to be a really good seamstress and designer in the first competitive episode. So, I don't think that she'd have many problems with the makeover. She might still be like a little down because of her third bottom 2 placement, but her high placement in this episode would then give her a boost going forward. So Bianca wins, yet again, with Courtney being safe. Darian is low, and Adore beats Jocelyn in the bottom 2 lip sync. The top 5 episode is the ball episode, and everything that I just said about Trinity still applies here. But first, the mini challenge. As it was the Puppets mini challenge, and as Dela won it originally, now we have to guess who. It's Bianca. Let's give the win to Bianca. She was the second funniest to Rue, and I don't really think Trinity could outperform her. However, she for sure could outperform her in the ball episode. Yeah, so some of you may disagree with me on this, but I think Trinity could have won this. So, okay, here are my reasons. Firstly, her outfits. Okay, we get that. Secondly, we'd have the storyline of, well, Trinity, you're in the top 5 and you're the only one without a challenge win. Next, as 2 out of the 3 looks are brought from home, we know for sure that Trinity's first 2 looks would have killed it. And then the last look would probably show off her more, let's say, pageanty side, so it would be perfect, elegant, and you know, so on and so on. Give me as many descriptive adjectives as possible that show off how, you know, well she would have done. Adore is still high here. She gets praise, but they say that she just wasn't as put together as Trinity. We are shown just a bit more of Bianca's critiques that lean more towards the negative, like how she looked good, but same old, same old. That leaves Courtney and Darian in the bottom 2. And here's the thing, the outcome of the lip sync does not matter, because Bianca wins the season regardless of the fact, but I could see both scenarios happening. So if Courtney goes, Darian goes after her in the top 4 episode. But if Darian goes, Adore goes in the top 4 episode as her track record is the weakest. Courtney losing makes sense since Darian did originally win this lip sync, but that was partially because he had also already beaten Dela, and it would have been a whole shame if they'd let Dela stay again. And Darian losing makes sense too because Courtney's a good performer. And this was her first time in the bottom 2 and Darian's 4th. And yeah. Let me just show you the track records in this new season with the first scenario only in mind, of course. Now the second version of the first scenario has the same top 8, top 7 and top 6 episode as the first version of the scenario, with the only difference being that Trinity gets eliminated after the Vibology lip sync. After Trinity's elimination, Rue says something along the lines of, "I may have eliminated one of my queens too soon," or whatever. What does Rue sound like? I don't remember. The top 5 episode, of course, starts with the queens being like, "Oh my god, like, who can it be? Party." And of course, it's Dela. I could also see Laganja being brought back, just for the drama of it all. Milk? Maybe, but I think Dela is our safest bet. So that takes us to that makeover episode, with the same top 6 as originally, which means that the results here are the same, meaning challenge win and everything. Same goes for the ball episode, and obviously the top 4 episode, and the ultimate winner of the season. Now, the second scenario is just a tad bit different, but just by a little bit. So here, let's say that Dela was saved in her first lip sync against Darian. Then, in the stand-up comedy challenge, she doesn't get saved, and is put in the bottom 2 with Laganja. Now, we could argue that Dela could beat Laganja in the lip sync to Stupid Girls. Like, she could camp it up and whatnot. But if we just keep Dela here, the rest of the season would be the same, so we couldn't really discuss anything. So, let's imagine that Dela loses here. We move on to the talk show episode. We know how the rest of them did, but how would Laganja have done? She was very chaotic throughout the entirety of the season, and I imagine her being the same way here, even after the previous week. This would probably not bode well for her, as I see her as someone who would talk over her guest. It's also possible that after the poor critiques that she received in the episode prior, she kind of toned down her personality and then ended up performing in a very boring way. Either way, I don't see her doing well, and I think she probably would have landed in the bottom 2. So now, is she in the bottom 2 with Trinity or Adore? For the storyline purposes, I think it should be with Adore. So on one hand, it's that ending to their story on the season, but then also we would get Adore performing a Paul Abdul song in front of Paul Abdul. So we also get that moment of like remembering American Idol as well. And, you know, obviously Adore wins the lip sync against Laganja. In the makeover episode, consider everything that I said about Trinity before still being present and valid here. Her looks are fantastic. She's a great makeup artist, she can design and create outfits, and so on and so on and so on. So I yet again see Trinity doing well, but let's not overshoot it, as I still gave the win to Bonnie Del Rico, with all the other placements being the same. Same thing goes for the ball episode. I see Trinity winning, partially for storyline reasons, much like Adore originally. Please listen properly to what I just said. I said partially for storyline reasons. Parsley, no. So now Adore is high with Bianca as safe. The rest goes as it did previously. Either way that you look at it, Bianca wins season 6. And the miscongeniality, yeah, it would have probably been Dela again. And that's it. Yeah, that's the video. after this one, I have another what if video planned that I don't think anyone will see coming. But I guess you could say it's going to be the tea. Thank you for watching.